Hey boys and girls, it's Mayor Wes Brinegar for the town of Sparta. Going to come with you today and share you a little story. I also work in the post office here in town, and today that's where our story is going to take us. Mr. Griggs' Work by Cynthia Ryland, and it's illustrated by Julie Downey. So let's get right into it and see what Mr. Griggs is doing at work. Mr. Griggs worked at the old post office. He was pretty old himself. Now that's not me, that's Mr. Griggs right there. He had spent millions of minutes of his long life shuffling through letters, watching the pictures on the stamps change, punching his first-class puncher, weighing fat brown boxes, and listening to long tales about the letter that never got there. That fruitcake that had never arrived. And in the middle of his dishes, Mr. Griggs would wonder, where is that fruitcake? Even when he went for a quiet walk in the woods, Mr. Griggs couldn't stop thinking about his work. When a blue jay zipped over his head, he'd think, express mail. And express mail means it's like overnight, so that means next day. When a squirrel darted up a tree with an acorn in his mouth, he'd think special delivery. And those are always fun. The little holes in a rotten maple tree would remind him of his mailboxes. He couldn't even look at a chipmunk without remembering the chipmunk stamp of 1978. But Mr. Griggs didn't mind. He loved his work. One day, Mr. Griggs became sick. His head ached and his stomach hurt, and he lay in bed all day long. It was the first time he'd ever been too sick to go to work, and now someone else was going to have to be taking care of the post office. Someone else was sorting through Mr. Griggs' letters. Someone else was putting pennies and nickels in Mr. Griggs' drawer. Someone else was taping up the corners of one of Mr. Griggs' ragged parcels. Someone else was doing Mr. Griggs' work. Poor old Mr. Griggs, he felt like a dead letter. And a dead letter is something that we can't deliver. It's something that just has no home. But the next day, his headache was gone. And his stomach was better. He was still tired. And because he was moving slower than usual, he was a little late leaving for work. When he finally showed up in the old building, in front of it stood Miss Emma Bradshaw, box 98. Mr. Frank Shrewsbury and his son Junior, box 171. Miss Sue Ann Huckabee, box number 10. And young Bobby Bricker in box 21. Mr. Griggs was so glad to be back at work that he shook hands with them all and nearly squeezed the dickens out of young Bobby. And then he unlocked the door of his beloved post office. He settled himself behind his little window, and to Miss Huckabee, who was first in line, he said gleefully, "First class or parcel post?" He ran his fingers over his old letter scale. He sniffed at his stamp drawer. He lined up his meters and punchers. And he glanced lovingly at all the brass mailbox lining the walls. In all the world that day, there was nothing finer than Mr. Griggs' work. And then that's the end. Closed. And we can relate to that in our post office. We love our work and we love doing things for all of our customers in the post office. And I encourage each and one of you boys and girls out there that's watching the video today to continue reading and continue your education, because if you can read, you can do anything. And I just want to commend you on that. I want to thank the library for giving me an opportunity to come up and share a little bit of a story time with you. And if you ever want to come by the post office to say, hey, you're more than welcome to come on in, and we'll show you around a little bit and show you what we do. We thank you, and we want to say God bless you, and take care, and keep reading, boys and girls. And the mayor loves you.